think we're live. We'll know in a moment.
Wonderful.
It's a good job you're a good mate, isn't it? Right.
We're live. We'll know in a moment.
Oh, here we go. You see, this is the back,
Wonderful.
the playback. Right. Turn this off.
That wasn't tea, that was red wine in my tea mug. Disguised.
We believe you. Okay. Pammy, I do believe we're live.
Fantastic.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be with you this evening.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bracha.
Thank you very much for joining. I mean, you know, in terms of popularity, I think you could be on every single night. And people would love,
no, I couldn't.
Love it if you were here.
no, I couldn't. But that last session, you know, when I was asking the Palladians through you, they brought through some fabulous material. Didn't they? It was quite brilliant. I thought that was astounding. So, you know, I hope that gets wide coverage because it just gives so much inspiration to people as well.
Oh, thank you, Pammy. Well, it's my delight for those of you that do not know the wonderful Pam Gregory, master astrologer, mystic, spiritual teacher, writer, gifted writer, speaker, coach, you name it. Pam is a real gift. And
so is Bracha. So is Bracha. Bracha is all of those things. Let's not forget.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. And really, we've come together today just to find ways in which we might be able to share with you how we can navigate the upcoming aspects gracefully, with more ease, with a higher frequency. Because as astrologers, we're really privileged, aren't we, Pammy? We're privileged.
Yes, hugely. Massive.
Yeah, would you like to elaborate on that, how you feel that we have a privilege?
Yeah, you know, it's like if you went through your life and you never got a weather forecast. You know, weather would just hit you randomly, like the rubber hitting the road. You'd have no idea whether to put on rubber wear and take a brolly or be in shorts and a t-shirt. You know, it would just be much more random and haphazard. So what astrology clearly gives us is the pattern. I've always said it doesn't give us the frequency, that's down to us and our consciousness, but it does give us the pattern. So it gives us a kind of archetypal, and I almost want to say architectural structure to what's potentially coming up. And then it's up to us to play that to the best. That's our responsibility. So you know, I don't know where I would be in life without, if I hadn't discovered astrology. I have no idea, but it wouldn't be here. You know, it's been a massive, it's enriched my life beyond belief. And, you know, probably the same for you as well, Bracha.
Amazingly so. And I'd like to add at this point, for those of you who have not yet got Pam's books, I highly recommend that you buy certainly the first book, because that's brilliant. I read that several times and I could read it again because every time there's more in it. And it's would you like to tell us the exact titles, because I'm probably going to get them wrong, Pam.
Yeah, you don't really believe in astrology, do you, was the first one. And I had to call it that because I'd been asked that question, you know, normally in corners of dinner parties or drinks parties, you know, in a conspiratorial tone. Come on, you can tell me, you know, you don't really, do you? So I had to call it that. And then the second one was How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe, which was really much more focused on the nodal axis. And, you know, I really, writing that, did a deep dive. I was on a magic carpet ride through that, but I you know, I can't, I think, really take credit because I think they came through me rather than from me. And I also have to say that Bracha has some absolutely groundbreaking webinars looking at future years and what's to come. So, you know, she's not going to get out of this either. So.
Not getting out alive. Pammy, this is a mutual praising society, but it's truly how I feel about you. I feel that you are somebody who is a real gift with so many talents and tools that are so valuable now as we make this transition. Yeah, we're right in the midst of a massive shift. We all know that. And certainly our beautiful soul family who's online with us today, live, and those watching later, are on this frequency with us. And thank you, Lucy, for being amazing. Lucy, couldn't manage without you moderating and looking after our family online. So thank you to Lucy here.
Absolutely.
Very, very much. But really, I would say that your books, and also incidentally, they are Amazon bestsellers. Yes, they are. They're right at the top of the Amazon bestseller list. So do yourself a favor. We are approaching holidays and Christmas and all those kinds of things soon. So I do highly recommend.
Bless you. And if you remember, Bracha, it was the Palladians that told us that. Do you remember? We asked that question of the Palladians at the time, and they told us that they would be bestsellers. So, you know, thank you. Can't escape. Thank you.
You can tell we're coming up Libra times, can't we? Where it's this Libra energy, yes, where there's this give and take and give and take. And if you give to me, I can't wait to give back to you. Yes, it's like, can we do it tenfold? So, Pally, what would you say is the aspect that's coming up, or aspects that are coming up, that are really drawing your attention at the moment? Perhaps if we can just look at that. Is there anything specific or things that you would like to look at or discuss today?
Yes, so much actually. It's been a really, you know, another wind tunnel day, as I said, another packed day. Yes, you know, I think, I mean, there's so much to share in this session, but I think we are really entering a kind of vortex of energy that is very necessary and very exciting. And, you know, I'm looking down the timeline into October. October is going to be massive. I've been saying that for months, and I'm sure you feel exactly the same, Bracha, where, you know, we've got the fifth and final exact square between Eris and Pluto that is gigantic. And within a 2-week period, as you well know, Bracha, you've got 4 planets moving from retrograde to direct. And, you know, it's very interesting if we look at, I mean, Jupiter isn't really an outer planet, but if we look at the planets from Jupiter outwards, for several months now, we've had, you know, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all retrograde. It's been an extraordinary period of retrogradation. Plus we've got Mercury for a 3-week period. But so that has really encouraged us to integrate the whole experience of what was happening in earlier 2021 before they went retrograde. So now for many people, they are getting clearer. And when there's that shift of momentum with Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, all changing direction within a 2-week period, I think we're going to see a real shift in energy to something much clearer, more direct, more, just much more momentum coming in from a period of kind of introspection and fogginess, perhaps, particularly after we get through this Pisces full moon, which is, you know, at the lower level of expression, a lot of fog. But beyond that, I think it's a very different quality of energy as we go through the next few months, and then the eclipses, November, December, and, you know, off we go. So that, I think, is going to be really, I think October is going to be quite pivotal, and whatever happens in October will set us up for 2022. Yeah. And how do you feel about that, Bracha? Because I know you've got similar thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, I really feel as though you're spot on with all of that, Pam. And October is just so pivotal, especially with we've got this Libra energy, which has to do with justice and fairness and equality. And what matters for you matters for me.
Yeah.
And not to get into the divisiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's
we
so
have to be
crucial.
really conscious of not resisting what is happening, because what we resist is going to grow and get stronger, but that we somehow just gently go around it and find new ways. It can be gentle with all the Pisces energy, because when I think of Pisces, I think of Libra, you know, you're the Pisces and the Libra. I think it's quite a gentle energy frequency, isn't it?
It is, and that's what makes it so complex, doesn't it? Because
yes.
You know, Pisces and Libra are so gentle. They want peace, they want calm, they don't want ruffled feathers, they don't want any trouble. And yet you've got Mars in Libra, and this massive, you know, Pluto era square all through 2020. It's going to continue through 2022, but not exactly. You know, it is mega with a very intense, entrenched fighting energy. So you've got
yes.
lots of layers of complexity in this. And of course, Mars isn't very comfortable in Libra because it's opposite its sign of rulership. But I see that as really fighting for, because Mars has to fight, it has to do, it has to act, fighting for others, fighting for truth, fighting for justice. And so that is going to be so strong through October. And, you know, I don't know, you certainly won't be seeing this on mainstream media for sure, guaranteed. But if you look at some of the alternative channels, you know that there are dozens, possibly hundreds of legal cases brewing about various things that may well be coming with all this Libran energy more to the fore as we get into October. That's going to be very interesting to see. But perhaps that's to do with the change of momentum. Who knows?
Yes, and certainly the change of momentum once Jupiter goes direct, that's the legal movement.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Beginning to really gain momentum. So I think you're right. So anything involving the law and rules and regulations is really going to be up for questioning. And I would also say to the people listening, you might really want to think about the areas in your life while you're feeling a bit stuck, a bit stagnant, things that haven't been moving. And you will find, and you might want to set some intentions here, that by the middle of October, even the beginning of October, things are going to start shifting and moving forward, and you're going to feel clearer. And you're going to say, right, I'm ready to stand up and be counted. This is important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've got anything around about, you know, 24, 25, 26 of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, you're going to be feeling intensity somewhere in your life, depending on where Pluto and Aries are, which houses they're in. But yeah, for sure, it's hitting off about 4 of my planets. And have I felt intensity recently, Bracha? I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. And anybody, of course, as well, just to add to that, anybody with planets around sort of 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12 degrees of the fixed signs, because you're getting rocketed by Uranus here. Yeah. The Uranus square coming up. And also as we approach Scorpio time, and then Mars into Scorpio and all that, and the nodes, then we're approaching that energy of Taurus and Scorpio. And how do you feel that is going to begin to play in? What's your feeling about that, Pam?
Yeah, that's really interesting. It will emphasize Uranus, but the North Node going into Taurus in January for about 18 months. It's very interesting. I think for me, it's, and you know, I'm sure you feel similarly, Bracha, but it's all about the earth. It's about extreme earth events of various kinds. It's all about the earth. It's about our agriculture. It's about our natural resources. It's about our food supplies. And there's a huge desire by many, many people for simplicity. I mean, I feel it a millionfold, just to sit on the earth. Any spare second I get, I want to sit on the earth, because the earth doesn't lie to you. The earth doesn't fib. The earth doesn't have, smoke and mirrors. The earth is always there. The earth is upgrading herself, and we're upgrading with her. The earth is so healing, and the earth is just magnificent and can, support us and nurture us. So it's all about the earth, and people, it's happening all over, as we know, are growing their own food. They're getting back to a simple way of life. Our values, Uranus and Taurus values, have shifted out of all recognition from even a couple of years ago about what's important. And so I think that, Uranus in Taurus and that shift of the North Node into Taurus can be, on the one hand, increased science in growing food, GMOs and, all of that. But equally, it can be a shift back to organic simplicity. And I think that's where a lot of people are focused right now.
Yes.
How do you feel, Bracha?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right on all of that. I'm ticking every box here as you're speaking. And I would also add to that, of course, we're dealing with the financial system.
Of course,
very much
absolutely.
Coming into a sharper focus. And I would imagine that with the South Node in Scorpio, there's going to be some issues around the repaying of debt. Who's going to deal with the debt? Scorpio, debt. Yeah, I think Pluto, debt. These last degrees of Pluto in Capricorn, I think that's going to be really strongly and especially affecting the United States. Yeah,
absolutely. Beautiful points. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And Scorpio is wealth, ruled by Pluto. It's elitism in that, very unequal top down, some people very, very rich, other people very, 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 very poor. And so that's so fascinating. I mean, I don't know about you, Bracha, but I'm seeing kind of an awful lot of the world in terms of that Pluto return in the US from now on, because we are absolutely trucking down the road for that. It becomes exact in February. It's all of next year. And if you use the 4th of July, 1776, 1710 in the afternoon, Philadelphia, Pluto's in the second house of the country's economy and money. So is that ever, because whatever happens to America's economy is going to happen globally, isn't it? Because everything's connected. Totally. And we're trucking towards that right now. And I think they're going to be massive economic and financial changes that we can barely imagine. Things much more digitalized. I think there's going to be a lot of financial volatility, and that may even begin in the second half of October.
Yes.
I mean, if we look at that full moon, I mean, I barely have vocabulary for that full moon on the 20th. I mean, my goodness gracious, 27 of, I think 27 of Libra, isn't it? 27 of Aries.
20, wait a minute. I'm looking here. So we've got the new moon on the 6th.
27 of Aries on the
and the full of Aries, 27, yes. Oh my goodness, yes, that full moon in Aries activating Mars and activating Pluto, and it's like the whole chain. It's a chain of energy.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just sort of volcanic. And also, it's interesting looking back that if we're just being pragmatic, that financial big shifts have tended to happen in October. Haven't they? That's a key month, for financial volatility. Yeah. So, let's just say that's going to be interesting.
It is, and I would give people a heads up. Trust your intuition and act before October if you're not sure. Yeah, take some proactive steps, just rather in the direction, I would say, of safety. Yes, I would be, because things are looking very, shall we say, unpredictable. Just Bitcoin, for example, lost something like 16% of its value in an hour and then went back up again in 20 minutes. I mean, it's all unreal. This has no reality to it, does it? It's like, and this is this Neptunian energy that we've got that's also prevalent as Jupiter goes into Pisces, joining Neptune. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on, and a lot of things coming out that have been long hidden. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, South Node moving into Scorpio in January, all about secrets, you know, that are being dug up, but also the fact that Jupiter is kind of grinding through, once it goes direct in October, grinding through those last few degrees of Capricorn, and its purpose in Capricorn is to sort of excavating anything which is not of the light, of the highest integrity, of the highest accountability. It's going to dig up. And in Capricorn, that is governments, big corporations, big institutions. So it's really going to dig up anything which has not been of the highest integrity and accountability. So it's got a lot of work to do in the next couple of years. So that is another sign, isn't it, that a lot is, you know, an awful lot is going to happen in, well, I think October is a very key month where everything starts to accelerate, and just, yeah, continues.
It does. I mean, enjoy the rest at the moment.
Yeah.
Build yourself up, nourish yourself as much as you can. Practice finding your inner peacefulness. You are the eye of the storm. Yes, you are the eye. It can all go on around you, is what the Pleiadians have been saying, and you can still be okay where you are and not get pulled off by these very strong hurricanes and storms and wildfires and all sorts of things that are happening.
Yeah, I think
I would also. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you didn't. Please.
I think that's so wise. You know, my last update, I was saying, make peace your obsession, make bliss your obsession, because I think the more, and people are in different circumstances in different countries, and it's much easier for some than for others, but if you start to cultivate peace and bliss, that is really helping you get to the, you know, the eye of the storm that you're talking about, Bracha. And the Pleiadians were really talking about this too, that the more we can feel peace, the more we attract that into our lives. Because if we feel, you know, frenzied and scattered and angry and, you know, confused, we're going to get more of that in our lives. So, you know, this is really bringing us back to our mastery of actually, we cultivate our reality by our inner feelings, by our frequency. We're really going to get that, although the lessons are very hard right now. They're very tough at the 3D level. The lessons are incredibly hard. But once you can even get a couple of notches up on the ladder, stop watching the news, you know, big number one, stop watching the news, you know, your frequency will jump. And then you've got some headspace, some airspace to say, okay, instead of watching the news tonight, what can I do? Can I sit on the earth? Can I watch the stars? Can, you know, whatever. Can I hug a tree? And just cultivating that silence, that peace, that the gaps between the thoughts, the gaps between the words. So you just drop into this silence of being. And that is going to be so rich to produce your reality.
Yes, beautiful, Pam. Thank you. And I would add as well, with Uranus and Taurus being strongly aspected, that this is, as hard as these times are on this 3D level, as you say, and they are bloody difficult, often during times of great adversity, this is when people have to come up with new ideas, new solutions. New ways of doing things, new ways of growing things, new ways of coming together financially, new ways of taking responsibility for our food, our water, our supplies, not relying on deep state, big state Pluto in Capricorn necessarily, but being much more inventive and saying to ourselves, hey, look, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to really, you know, take our brains onto that higher frequency. And to, because I think there are so many things out there technologically as well that I've been reading about that will clean up the plastic. Apparently there's a mushroom that eats the plastic.
Absolutely. Isn't it just incredible? So it could be, sounds kind of crazy, but it could be easier than we think if we get lots of these mushrooms and just, cleaned all up. So, it isn't that it would necessarily take decades or generations. There are going to be some natural, organic means of just sorting this out. I think there's a very young guy at the age of 16, 17, he won a Nobel Prize for his invention of something was dragged sort of through the sea that could clean up a vast amount of plastic in no time. He won a Nobel Prize for it. So, he was 16, 17, so with an unpronounceable name, so I can't credit him. But, it's things like this that are going to change our world, and technologies that we haven't even imagined, organic, natural, positive technologies that can help us immensely. And I have a feeling that, despite the mess we're in at the moment on the 3D level, that things can actually change very quickly once people can shift their frequency. The key thing with all of this is frequency. I want to kind of shout it from the rooftops, because if we can shift that and get the momentum of the collective shifting in a better direction, all of this is going to change really, really quickly from all this, it was interesting, Bracha, you talking about, divisiveness and the need to come together, because in tough times, in the war, people really came together, didn't they? Helped each other, swapped food, all of that. And the Aquarian energy is about community and collaboration.
Yes.
So if we can get our heads straight, that's where we're headed.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So the future is bright. The future is positive. And I think we must, it's not about being in la la land. We're not saying this is not difficult. It is extremely difficult. And we've certainly got some pain to go through. Yeah. But sometimes pain can be wonderful. Yes, not pleasant necessarily, but after it, there's pain in giving birth to a child usually. But look what the miracle you have afterwards. So we may go through these birthing pains, but the miracles that we can produce afterwards. And whenever I think of Uranus, I think of instant things happening. It's like all of a sudden, everything's different in the twinkling of an eye.
Yeah, I love that. And, various people have talked about a big solar flash. I don't know if that's going to happen. Certainly Uranus and Taurus has brought about a lot more solar activity and coronal mass ejections and solar storms. That's very Uranus and Taurus. Taurus, the Earth, Uranus, electromagnetic energy. So we're seeing that in a very physical way, and it's affecting our sleep and, upgrading us, etc. So yes, it can change, I believe, in the twinkling of an eye. And I hardly dare mention this, actually. I don't know if I dare mention this because, people, because reason I just hopped on kind of 2 minutes before the call, Bracha, is I was having a very quick exchange with a good friend of mine, because I dowse a lot, as you know, and I've been doing it more recently, and kind of checking not only my own frequency, but people close to me who give me permission. You always have to ask permission to enter somebody else's energy field. But I've also been dowsing the collective for humanity. And that has just been going up in, I can barely believe it, leaps and bounds. And I was doing it this afternoon, checking for a friend, and the maximum level for humanity, the maximum potential for humanity was literally off my chart. I couldn't get it. It was off the chart. So I asked a couple of good friends who are dowsers to check it, and they came back and they said, yeah, it's, we haven't got a calibration for that.
Wow.
So, that was, and I barely dare share this in case my pendulum has just gone nuts and I'm talking rubbish, but that was a very exciting moment, because with all these massive upgrades of energy, I think I really, really, really want to say, and I'm going to become very boring with this, and I'm going to say it in my next update and go on and on and on about it, because, as the Palladians confirmed the other day through you, Bracha, in that short Q&A we did, the bandwidth for humanity has stretched massively. So our individual experience is going to be way more different than it has ever been.
Yes.
Determined by your frequency. So, if you're in, in fear and anger. And I know people are going to be in a situation on the front line where it's, you know, it's hard to avoid those scary things. People are having a really, you know, intensely tough time. But even if you can tweak it a little bit to get to a high frequency, you are going to start to open up a vista, which means that you can really start to experience something completely different to anything you've ever experienced in your life before. And that's the sense I'm getting with people living at a high frequency who, you know, are creating synchronicities in every moment. They're living in the magic zone. Couple of people, well, several people actually, who are shamans and healers, and I think you've even hinted at this yourself, Bracha, that, you know, they think we're already there. It's just got to play out on the 3D level. We are already there. It's just, it has to filter down to this 3D level of kind of sludge and fog and drama. But if we can just shift our compass needle, it can be so different.
Yes. Could you share ways that you shift your compass needle, or people could do that? Maybe could you give a few?
They're dead simple, honestly. And I, you know, I say this in all my videos. You don't have to go anywhere, pay money, go on a. I mean, they're literally, it's being grateful. You know, it's been grateful for my pillow, my mattress, in fact, I had clean water, although I had no water at all this morning, but neither did anybody around here. So it's been grateful I have arms and legs and eyes. It's been grateful I can see a tree or hug a tree. I might dance, even on my own. I might sing. I might laugh with a friend, which I do often with you. I might meditate, I might candle gaze, I might do strong breath work, I might do yoga, I might meditate. All of those things raise your frequency, and you can measure it. You know, if you do Dowse, you can do a before and after.
Yes.
Being in nature is a huge thing, I think, and just, you know, being grateful for the birds and the sky and the, you know, and celebrate every shift in seasons, you know, celebrate the beauty of that, like a child would. Wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? You know, just like a child. It's simplicity, I think, is what it's all about. It's nothing complicated. It's simplicity. And it's you with your own frequency on with an inner sense interacting. For me, it's nature. For me, it's always nature, or animals, or good friends, or anyway, very long. But what is it for you, Bracha?
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. And perhaps people might want to share in the chat here. What is it for you? What are you feeling? Let's really inspire one another with new ideas and new ways that we can raise our frequency. Because what works for one may not work for somebody else. There's somebody saying walking the dog here. Yeah. So, you know, and I know you love walking Figgy, don't you? So we just, what are the things? For me, it's feeding Antoni, my little cat here. Yeah. So what are the things that, and you'll know when your frequency's gone up because you'll feel good. Yeah. It's quite as simple as that. Your energy will feel better. It's not necessarily a technical thing. It's just something you'll know internally. Yeah. And the higher we keep that frequency, as you keep saying. And I also think that with Uranus in Taurus and the North Node in Taurus, we're getting a frequency upgrade for the physical body.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
For sure.
Right? That's Taurus, the physical body, the senses, how we perceive the world. I think that is, you know, we're all in here for an upgrade. We're getting skipping, hug a tree, silence, sun on your skin, listening to music, dancing, laughter, nature, animals, gratitude, meditation, music, going to museums, chatting with your toddler, laying on the grass. Yeah, great. Art. Yeah, so this is great. We know what it takes, right? We know innately. It's not complicated. We haven't got to go to school and learn it or go on a course.
Or read a book. You know, it's just literally that simple, and it's experiential.
Yes.
It's experiential. It's getting out of the head and into the body in a bigger way. I think that's, you know, Taurus, the body. I think that's really important too.
Yes. So just know that you are getting, especially with Uranus, you're getting an opportunity to take your physical onto a much, a body that is able to heal instantaneously.
I
to
really
correct
believe that.
instantaneously. And over the waves, I think that Uranus-Taurus energy, we can heal one another through thought, through telepathy, through energy in the field.
Totally.
Is the healing of the body. Would you agree?
Totally. And just being with somebody who has that state of being of high frequency, you know, our energy fields are infectious, they're contagious. I mean, there's been tons, even Harvard, you know, has been studying this with, because in my previous life, I used to teach senior management how to make more persuasive presentation skills. And I remember at Yale and Harvard, they were doing studies on if the presenter had, you know, positivity, high frequency, they would infect the audience to be more likely to say yes to the proposal rather than no. So even from a business point of view, but you know, it's well known, we infect each other like we infect each other with colds or whatever. I hardly don't mention that in the current climate, but so, you know, it's a state of being. So yes, you can, you know, you can really heal people. Just, this is Characlo energy. This is Characlo, the healer.
Yes.
Simply by your state of being. So that's what becomes very exciting, just to be around people. And the more of us can do that, it, you know, everything starts to get better.
And you're not walking along the street and seeing glum faces. People don't smile anymore. People are not want to. In fact, if you smile at them, they look at you sometimes as though, well, you're off your rocker, you know.
Oh, I do. I once read somewhere that you need to be a smile millionaire.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? And I've quoted that before, but you need to smile at everybody you can because it's infectious. And there's just a little ripple in everybody's days. Oh, you know, that's, you know, that's really nice. And, you know, I think, Bracha, it's important for, well, certainly I'm going to confess this, that, you know, people think astrologers have perfect lives. My life is not perfect, and you know, I'll leave Bracha to talk about her, but you know, my life is not, you know, I'm not living in Disneyland here, but I am working, you know, with all of my own personal issues, and there have been quite a few of those the last few months. I am working constantly very hard on keeping my frequency high, because I know that's the solution to stuff. I know that's my bubble wrap. I know that will get me to a better place. It bubble wraps me against some of the, you know, the worst of it, but life becomes easier, even if stuff hits you out of the blue, which it did for me, even, it becomes easier if you can keep your frequency up, because everything you experience in life also moving forwards on an ongoing basis has to be a frequency match for you.
Absolutely. Beautiful. That's, yeah, I couldn't have put that better. That is really perfectly put, Pammy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and gosh, you did the same, didn't you, Bracha? I mean, the challenges you had in New Zealand that were very
absolutely coming back, and you know, I mean, yeah, there's loads of stuff of which I usually share a lot of it with my lovely community here, but just to show that we all go through our challenges and our difficulties. And I think there's more help around than there's ever been. You're not alone anymore. I think there used to be this tremendous feeling of aloneness, but now there's just a sense of connections happening. Do you feel that too, Pammy?
Absolutely, connections of frequency. And I think particularly after the lockdowns, when so many people were isolated and alone, that was very, you know, they used as torture, don't they? I mean, look at, you know, Nelson Mandela, that was a torture to keep him in solitary confinement. So, and we've come out of those situations. If you are out of lockdown, I know people in areas like Australia having a terrible time right now, but we so value human connection in a way that we probably didn't as fully before. We kind of might have taken it for granted till it was taken away from us.
Yes.
And so the human connection is so precious, so precious.
Yes. Yes, extremely valuable, precious. And yeah, we're here to treasure one another. Instead of treasuring money, Uranus in Taurus, money systems, money is, you know, when you really think about it, it's paper.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, sadly. And there may be some hiccups with that too.
And there's not even paper anymore. Now it's just, you know, on the net somewhere digitally. So I think a lot has to somehow change with what we perceive to be of value to us, and I think that I would imagine that people are going through, what work do I want to do? A lot of people lost their jobs and don't want to go back, or maybe we're in isolation and still don't want to go back now that they maybe have the opportunity. So there's changes in work, changes in what you want to do. Uranus in Taurus, the awakening of your talents, your gifts, your creativity. So I think this is all quite a part of the mix. Would you agree, Pam?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, beautifully observed, because people are going to have had to become very creative if they lost their work. But I think we're moving into a whole surge of a lot of people deciding, I don't want to do this anymore, for a whole bunch of very clear reasons. They're just, this is my Waterloo. I've reached my Waterloo. I do not want to do this anymore. So I think we're going to see quite a big exit by many people from jobs they've had for a long time. And that may bring about this reinvention or this greater desire for community to share, to help each other, etc., which will be wonderful. Aquarius, grassroots up, wonderful. And life will be very different. There's much more about shared experience than territorial ownership, don't you think?
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. No, I just love the way you put that, because, in these last 7 or 8 years, the billionaires, their wealth has just grown immensely. And everybody else it's diminished immensely. You may not realize that it has, but the value of the money in your pocket has greatly gone down because they've printed so much money out of thin air with no value behind it. So this whole inequality is just going to get sorted out naturally. I don't think we even have to fight it.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, of course, Uranus is all about equality, ruling Aquarius. Eris is absolutely against elitism, inequality. Everybody needs to have a voice, everybody in society, not one person left out, as Eris was at the wedding at Mount Olympus, the only goddess left out. So that is a passionate warrior energy for every single person across the world to be heard. And I love Eris. I mean, she's a female warrior. I love her. She's a goddess of discord and chaos, which we're going to see a lot of at the 3D level, but of awakening, to awaken us to a higher level of being, to value every single person on this earth. And I do think, it was interesting, Bracha, you talking about very tough times, and that's so true. Ultimately, we will come together in adversity. We will. It's the awakenings that are going to happen in the coming months.
There's no question about that at all. And just remember, really, I think it is not to get caught up in divisiveness. I think that's really going to be important, to be aware when you're getting into like a fighting energy, or whether you are peacefully saying, this just doesn't work for me. I'm going to find another way. Yes.
Yeah, very important. I think super important, because the divisiveness just lowers your frequency, and the person you're fighting with, for whatever, that's just going to perpetuate the 3D world we no longer want.
Exactly.
You want a better reality. Don't be in those low frequency energies. And I know, easy for me to say, but remember, I don't have a perfect life either, but we've got to make the effort, because if you feel anger, you'll get more of it. If you feel frustration, you get more of it. If you feel panic, you get more of it. We've got to be masterful enough to live from the inside out and shift it, because then, even millimeter by millimeter, we're going to start to attract a much better reality. And we are all on very different trajectories now. The width is, as I said earlier, wider than we've ever been. It's almost like we're on different speeds of escalator, is almost how I see it. Some people are on, super fast track at Heathrow Airport. They're whizzing away to the, and that isn't to suggest elitism. It's just to suggest self-determination, self-selecting your timeline by your frequency. So nobody in the future will be telling you this is your escalator. You are self-selecting it depending on the frequency you've achieved for yourself. It's from us. It's inside out, not outside in.
Yes. Yes. That's beautiful, Pammy. Really.
Thought of that. That's quite a good analogy, isn't it?
I think that's beautiful. I love it. Yes, I do. Well, I could talk to you for hours. I feel as though we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else you would like to add in terms of I mean, I think you've really shared so many pearls of wisdom, quite honestly. You're wearing your beautiful pearls tonight. That's quite, looking very posh, like the Queen here.
Yeah, and so you, Bracha. I think it's been very equal.
Well, thank you for that, Pammy. But yeah, is there anything else you would like to share in any way of a tip or anything that you feel is important?
How are you feeling about the big Jupiter-Neptune conjunction next day?
Well, that's beautiful for you, Pammy, right on your sun.
Well, I'll either drown or have a mystical moment.
I think you're going to have more than a mystical moment. I think all the dreams I think it's meteoric. Your career is going to go, I believe. Somebody mentioned that to you recently, and I think that really is, wow. But I think that it's really a wonderful time spiritually for a great awakening, really to happen on a mass level, Jupiter doesn't do things by. What's your feeling? Because as a Pisces, you're going to be even more in tune with that.
Yeah, Pisces, sun and moon, it's smack on my sun, as you know, Bracha, which is going to be very interesting. But, it's interesting, isn't it? We've got the ancient ruler of Pisces, Jupiter, and the modern ruler of Pisces, Neptune. Yes. And we've got this boundless energy that is just, to me, it feels very fine. And there's a real shift towards everybody being more intuitive, everybody being more psychically connected. And Neptune and Pisces ultimately are about unconditional love, connection to oneness, connection to source. So I think there could be really quite a jump in everybody's frequency towards something way more compassionate. It's about compassion, isn't it, for all beings, animals, plants, birds, everything. Yes. And it could be really, it's because it's boundless, it's mutable water, it's boundless. And there's something really fine and exquisitely loving about that conjunction. I think
it really is. It's like we really feel it's such a heart-opening opportunity, isn't it? It's like, wow. I mean, we know on the 3D level, yes, of course, there could be flooding, issues with water. I mean, these are things that might be in the wings. Yeah. I think we could also look at sending prayers around our waters. I mean, certainly in Greece, because we're surrounded by water, on January the 6th, on Epiphany, the priests come and they bless the waters. Yeah, wow, yes, it's really ritual. Yes, and all these strong young men, they dive into the cold sea and the priest throws something and whoever gets it is, especially fortunate. But it's, maybe we could really focus on blessing our oceans and the water. I mean, you had no water for a few hours today, and
and I was saying to you, Bracha, just before we started, how much it made me appreciate water. So we all went grubby this morning, everybody in my little hamlet and local villages, we were all grubby. And, it made me really think, gosh, I've just had no water for a few hours. What if I lived in Africa or India and I had to walk miles to get a bucket of water for the day? How lucky am I? That's another thing to be grateful for, if you have water normally. And it's interesting you say that about blessing the water, because a couple of healers I know, they have a jug of water and they just write love on a piece of paper and stick it to the water jug. And they say it changes the frequency of the water because they think love every time they pick the jug up.
Beautiful.
Such a simple thing to do, isn't it, to change the frequency of the water? And yes, just blessing every glass you have with love. I think that makes a difference. So water will be healing. Yeah, water.
Yeah.
Very important.
Water is going to be a real key word. You're going to see water mentioned, I feel, in the news, in the media. Everything to do with water is going to be prevalent.
Yeah, and that could be linking in with Uranus in Taurus, the big earth changes, because when we had Jupiter that dipped into just a couple of degrees of Pisces in the summer in the northern hemisphere, we had all that flooding in Europe, particularly Germany. So, you know, that was just a glimpse. So there may be more flooding. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but we can also live it at a much higher level of being than that.
Yes, and since we know it's coming, we can be extremely appreciative of everything to do with water and really tune into what does the water want from us? What does it need? And how can we reprogram it? Because we have an input as well that is really important. You know, not taking it for granted, not putting chemicals in it. God knows what they put in the water these days. Everybody's got filters or bottles or these things. You know, very few people actually drink the fresh, pure water anymore. How did that happen on our planet?
Yes, absolutely. And if you look at the work of Masaru Emoto, when he instructed people to, you know, he had various files of water, and people were instructed to send different emotions of love or hate or anger or jealousy. And then what he did was freeze those particular samples of water. And the ones that were sent love and positive emotion had beautiful symmetry in the crystals. And the ones that had anger or hate or jealousy were all distorted and ugly in the crystal shapes. And his work is really easy to find online. You can, and it's been validated by many different people, but water holds memory. Water captures your frequency that you directed it, hence love on the water jar, but it holds the memory of whatever you've directed to it. So we, again, have huge influence on the water molecules. You know, our power is so much greater than we can possibly imagine. We're just not very aware of it, but his work, Masaru Emoto, was a genius, I think. I met him once locally when he came to do a talk just before he died. And, you know, he was a genius and so instructive for us every day.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, really. So the waters, and of course, people go all over the world for healing waters, don't they? Yeah. Oh, we're going to get healed. Go here, go there. So, I think that everything you've said there, and of course, it's very connected with health and well-being and the soothing of the emotions. Yeah, there's a cleansing. You know, if you can be in the shower and imagine you're in a waterfall, you know, how cleansing it is. So you're being, I asked the Palladians this the other day, you know, that you're not just cleansed on the outside, but you're being cleansed on the inside, if you can imagine that. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, just beautiful. Yeah. So really, although we've got a lot of, shall we say, dirt and muck and stuff to sweep away and deal with and detoxify personally and globally, we've got such a bright that's already in the making. Absolutely. You know, and what's extraordinary, and I know you know people like this, Bracha, that people who are managing to keep on that high frequency are attracting synchronicities in their life, the right people, the right places, the right land, if they want to buy something, and then there's something magical happens with that, you know, and they're able to get it for, you know, a kind of way out crazy reason they couldn't have possibly thought of themselves. But it's happening. You know, this magic is actually happening, but you've got to raise your frequency to pull that in, because if you're just the rubber hitting the road, watching the nightly news, your possibilities appear, they're not, but they appear to be very limited indeed. They're not, but they appear to be that way because that's the reality that you're kind of immersed in. So switch the news off. And that did wonders for me. Wonders. Yes. And you, I think, Bracha, you never listen either. I mean, you know, I read it once, twice a day, and that's it. Right. But I don't listen. It's different. Yeah. It's, you know, when you're mesmerized by a picture and pulled in, it's quite different. Yes, it's a different. Because that Pisces in that Neptune Pisces can be slightly hypnotic. Yes. very hypnotic. You know, what are you being hypnotized by? Yes, because there's a lot of hypnosis going on our subconscious levels with social media. I won't go into that in any depth, but I think people are beginning to realize that there's a lot of mind games going on, and just steer clear of it as much as you can. And you'll know the minute you're being pulled down, the minute you start to feel your energy, your frequency shift, you know when you're dropping, and catch it before it drops big time. It's like when you start to feel not so well. If you catch it quickly, you know, you've got a sore throat, right? Quickly, you gargle with salt or whatever it is that you do, take vitamin C, you catch it, you turn it around real quick.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a great point, because, you know, being aware of your frequency is a great barometer or navigator through your day. If frequency is your focus, you think, oh, I've just dropped a notch, which I hadn't seen that, which, you know, that video, whatever that somebody sent, you know, I can, nope, I'm done. I'm going to look over here. So using frequency as your navigating tool through your day, I think is the best thing I can possibly say to people. Would you agree?
I agree with you entirely. I really do, because the more that you can become aware of what you're vibrating out, whether you're vibrating an awful sound or a beautiful sound, that will come back to you.
Yes, absolutely. Because it has to, it's the law of the universe. It's a frequency match. Everything in your reality is a frequency match.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And that's what the age of Aquarius is taking us towards.
Yeah.
Everything to do with frequency and the air waves.
Yeah.
And make no mistake that you can help other people so much more when your frequency is high. You can't help people when you're on a low frequency. Totally. And we are here to help each other, right? I mean, that's what I feel I'm here for, is to help, you know, through these times. So it's almost like it's our responsibility to the best that you can. Sure, I have many blips, and it's like, oops, whoopsie daisy, and okay. But, you know, I really feel this is, as you keep saying, yeah, it's your thing really, Pammy. We must make that the prime focus. And then all the other physical things you've been dreaming of, your house, your car, your partner, all of those things begin to manifest in magical ways that you couldn't have dreamed of.
Yep. Yep, I really, really agree, because everything in your life will come from your frequency. I passionately believe that in my bones. So you get that in a better place and everything improves. It also dramatically improves your health. If your frequency is good, you'll stay well. And you won't have to go anywhere near a doctor or a hospital or anything like that. So it's, you know, and really people get healed by being with somebody, you know, often by raising their frequency themselves, or being with a healer who can entrain them to raise their frequency.
Yes, yes.
And they get healed. The healer is merely kind of jump leads, or a mechanism by which the person themselves who is it can kind of jump up their frequency. But it isn't the healer really doing the healing. It's the healer through a high level of frequency and training the patient to heal themselves.
Beautiful. And, you know, it's been found, I think, scientifically, that hate and bitterness and anger are very cancer forming.
Yes. Right? Yes, absolutely.
They are what forms those cells that go out of the beautiful alignment.
Absolutely. And certain emotions lodge in certain parts of the body. I think anger lodges in the liver, fear lodges in the kidneys. You know, different emotions are lodged. If you look at Chinese medicine, they are, you know, absolute expert on this. So if see where the problem lies in the body, and that will track you back to the emotion or the trauma that began there.
Exactly. Yeah. And working together, you know, speaking with you today, doing things collaboratively on the higher frequency, well, I hope that we are radiating that out to our soul family here, that there's a radiation that happens that is a positive radiation, not a nuclear one that's zapping everybody, but one that really, is inspiring and uplifting. And really, you start to think, oh, there's more possibilities here. There's more options.
Yeah.
That you don't feel tied in, because that's the illusion, because Jupiter Neptune can be illusionary in Pisces. What are we buying into? Illusion are we buying into?
Yeah.
It is just not necessarily your reality.
Absolutely. And just as, as we've been saying, just to increase your frequency, a couple of notches can open up more possibilities. Join a group, get in touch with your neighbors, your local farmers, form a network so you're not feeling alone, you feel more supported. And there's such a depth of humanity in doing that. We are all in this together. The power of the people, Aquarius.
That's it. It is the people, and it's not just those few.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're really starting to get a sense of that.
Yes.
It's down to us. It really is. And we have much greater power than we realize, particularly when we connect with others. We have a formidable power, energetically, but also in communication, formidable.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, coming together with you here, it's powerful. Two rather than one. Yeah. It really, there's a richness. That can be co-created, because there's certainly a co-creation. So yeah, wow. Oh, Pammy, thank you so much for
thank you. It's been great today.
I've loved every moment of it. Thank you, Lucy, for doing an amazing job. She's been on her own as a moderator. Nobody else was available today.
Thank you, Lucy.
So, Lucy, you've been amazing, because the chat has not stopped. So do check out Pam's website, which is thenextstep.uk.com.
Yeah, or the shorthand is just pamgregory.com. And just be aware, it's being upgraded at the moment, won't be finished till end October. It's very slow. If you're trying to read, detailed stuff on a mobile, it'll drive you crazy. Please be patient. The website guys can't work any harder. So it'll be late October, okay? And then it'll look a lot better than it does right now. But yes, everything is on the website. And I just want to say, Bracket, it's great because we speak the same language, that, we stimulate each other's thoughts, we bounce off each other. And in talking to you and the Palladians as well, I have thoughts that I didn't have before. It's very, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts sort of thing, that we become more productive, I think, in sharing the conversation. So that's hopefully helpful for people too.
Yeah, no, I really hope so. Thank you, beautiful soul family. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Pam. Thanks a million. And I hope you'll come back next month, will you?
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah.
Yay.
Absolutely, like a bad penny. Yay. Yes, absolutely.
Well, lots of love to you, Pammy.
Yeah, and to you, Bracha, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of evening. It's a little bit late there now, so wonderful rest of evening. And thank you so much. It's been a joy.
Thank you, Pammy. Bye for now.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.